Welcome back to Comics, the podcast where me and my mom go through our comic book collection 2 issues at a time. And we've got a Halloween-themed episode for you today with 2 scary comics. The first one is X-Men King Size Annual number 6 from 1982. And it's got Dracula. So, this is actually the second time that Dracula has appeared in the X-Men comic, I believe. He was in an earlier 1982 comic where he tried to turn Storm into a vampire. And this is sort of the continuation of that story.
This would make a beautiful poster.
I know, I like the smoke on this thing. And I like the line detail in her hair and in her robes.
I really like that signature there, too.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Wolverine's got string on his head. He's got blood on his head.
You think that they probably passed up on going the werewolf route.
How can you bite Colossus? He's got metal skin.
Well, you would lull him into sleep where he would relax and become human. But I wonder if his instincts, if his body itself would protect itself and turn metal.
You would
if
think.
It's got intuition. And Kurt, everybody kind of thinks he's a demon or vampire anyway.
They look like they have upset stomachs.
I know. What's Scott doing?
He's got indigestion.
And Wolverine sharded. He's like, oh!
So this is an extra long issue because it's an annual. And there's only like 8 pages of ads in it. It's mostly comic.
Wow.
So we start off at Bard College, and this is Van Helsing. This is Rachel Van Helsing, and she took a leave of absence from Oxford University. She had a bad relationship and needed to try a different location. She needed a change of scenery, as it says. And her student, she's an anthropologist. Her student is like, hey, are you connected to that book, Dracula by Bram Stoker? And she says, that was fictional. And as she leaves, she's thinking, well, that book is fictional, but all the characters are real people.
That looks like her fingers are fused.
Yeah, she's doing like the heavy metal symbol. And, or like the Spider-Man.
Look at her hand there.
Yeah, that's weird. As she gets home, thinking that she's finally free of the conflict with Dracula that has entangled her family for generations, only to discover...
Oh, no.
Who's in her house? Dracula.
But don't you have to invite him in?
I guess. Well, that's funny because he says, enter freely and of your own will. He's the one inviting her in. I guess he's making fun of that trope of Dracula. So,
while he's eating a garlic clove.
yeah. So he was supposedly dead, but is not, and he's come for revenge. So we cut to the X-Mansion. Wolverine's got a weird outfit on.
Kurt's hair.
What's wrong with it?
It's huge.
Looks like Grammy's haircut. Strong color.
You know, my grandmother, when we were kids, she would dye her hair black, even though she was in her 60s. And then when her roots were growing out, between dye jobs, she had this curly wig that if she was going to the store, she would just put this curly red wig on.
What?
Like a hat, because she wouldn't even like tuck in the hair underneath.
Oh my God.
And it reminds me of that.
Why didn't she get the wig the same color as her dye job?
I don't know, but it was like, it was one of those things that you think that you would notice and it would be more embarrassing, but she did it.
I like the way they draw her arms flailing around.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that character, I think Spiral from Mojo.
Oh yeah.
Mojo was that like television producer villain from the X-Men, and he had that one henchman that had like 6 arms. It would look like some kind of samurai or something. But she doesn't have 6 arms. She's just pounding the walls and stuff. She's freaking out because she got a letter that her parents are getting divorced.
Oh.
And she's blaming herself. She's flailing around and phasing. They're all trying to calm her down. I like Storm's outfit. She's got a cool little cap on.
Yeah. She's in her hippie phase.
I guess. In 1982.
Well.
Kind of missed the boat on that one. So we're going to skip the Lifesavers puzzle here. Basically, I think the last time she saw her parents, they were going to try to give their marriage another shot, but it didn't work out. And Storm and Nightcrawler are trying to console her. I like this super close-up.
Whoa.
It's almost too detailed.
Wow.
And she's freaking out. She's lashing out at them and slams the door to her room and throws a picture of her parents across the room, shattering the glass. Yeah. So, I guess she's thinking that if she had stayed home instead of going to the X Mansion, maybe they would have stayed together, or, that she did something to cause it. She's got a Rolling Stones concert poster and a blank blue poster. It's just a blank. So she's freaking out. She almost looks like the Dark Phoenix or something here.
Yeah.
And there's a silhouette as the sun is starting to set. She kind of freaks out until she falls asleep. You know how when you freak out and you get really sleepy? So around midnight she wakes up and she's like, oh, I feel really bad. I remember Storm's parents were killed when she was a kid, and I'm complaining about mine getting a divorce, so maybe I shouldn't be so drastic about it. And she said, well, only the picture frame's broken, the photo's still okay. But she turns around and she sees Storm looking very vampiric.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. She bites Kitty and throws her.
What the?
I know. Even as her Jack in the Box is concerned.
Look at her teddy.
I know.
Oh.
And one by one, Aurora visits her teammates. Colossus,
Look
I guess
at
it
the
didn't.
font.
His steel skin didn't
Didn't
kick
work.
in. Wolverine, you think he would just heal immediately.
Right.
Cyclops, good thing he didn't open his eyes, I guess. You think he'd have a sleep mask or something, just in case. If you wake up,
Uh-huh.
you open your eyes and blow a hole in the ceiling. Nightcrawler, he already had fangs, so he could be a good vampire.
Wow. Yeah, I like the font.
I like this panel. She's like powering up from all of their blood.
Ew. Like a
Same
creepy
drawing, different
rogue,
color.
kind of.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So what are they going to do to get out of this one? Well,
it was a dream.
It
No.
you think it was a dream. Storm and her humanity have this night parted company. She returns to her attic room for the last time. She will never see it again. She does not dare. With a wicked, joyous laugh, she pirouettes beneath the open skylight, watching entranced as for the first time she transforms from human into bat. Then, with a sweep of her powerful wings, she is airborne. She could already fly. Did she need to turn into a bat?
Whoa.
And then she meets up with Dracula. Uh-oh.
Is that why she turned? Because he was
Turns
in town?
out it was a dream.
Oh, jeez.
So previously, earlier in this year, Dracula did bite Storm. And I guess what happened was Storm was temporarily under his control, but because her willpower is so strong, she was able to resist attacking her teammates. I think Nightcrawler used like a crucifix to subdue her, and Kitty Pryde used her Star of David because Kitty Pryde
I
is
remember
Jewish.
that.
I think she tried to use a crucifix, but since she's not a Christian, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so Dracula was confronted by Storm, who overcame his mind control and agreed to like not try to control her anymore, and he would release his hostage, and then they parted ways, and that was the last we had heard of it. But having been bit, if she dies, she becomes a full vampire. She was bit by Dracula before in that earlier issue, but only to the extent where like he could manipulate her. I think when they bite a little bit, they talk about this at the very end too. If they like drink a little bit of your blood, they can control your mind, but you're not necessarily like a full vampire. But if they drink enough of it, you either become a vampire on the spot, or having been bit a little bit, if she dies, she'll return undead.
Wow. So it's
you can
not
see her
like
eye is like a
it's
vampire
not like
eye.
they bite you until you die and then they feed you
They
some of their
can.
blood.
I think they can. But
Okay.
He didn't do that to her. It wasn't like a full transformation.
So there's hope.
Yeah, so she's like, why did I have that dream? She goes to check on Kitty. She's like, oh, okay, so I didn't actually bite her. That was just in my head. And she decides to investigate. I like how she can transform costumes
Yeah.
with like a blast of pink energy. However, Kitty was awake and sees her go away.
Why
So
is she touching my neck?
yeah.
Ew.
So she goes to check on Colossus. What you doing? She says. A history thesis for Professor Xavier. It's due next week upon his return from Muir Island. So
I forgot about that. I always thought that was kind of cool when I was
you have
a
to
kid.
do homework.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating subject, Katya. Your American view of the world, as it was, is so different from what I was taught in Russia. Each side claims to tell the truth. Each side is right and wrong. There is so little understanding between our two countries and so much fear. It's like, what is he even researching?
Well,
He's not getting very specific. Just history? All of history?
In the 80s and stuff, it was a big deal. You know, the whole Russia, U.S.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware of it. I'm just saying
It
they
was-
could have said something like, what aspect of American or Russian history are you
Oh, true.
researching? But anyway, she is acting a little weird. Look into my eyes. What happened today is unimportant. Kitty, no, please. All that matters
What?
is tonight. And he lets out a scream of pain or something like that. So we'll follow up with that later, but she looks pretty sinister.
What the?
And this is chapter 2. They break it into chapters if you need to take like a bathroom break or something. If you want to go back and do that Lifesavers maze. 3,000 miles separate from the shores, separate the shores of the United States from those in England. Storm flies it in a day, reaching her destination, a majestic old manor house perched on the rugged coastal cliffs of Cornwall, soon after sunset. His power led me here, but why? It makes no sense for Dracula to go to so much trouble just to drink my blood. He must realize I will fight him, to my death and beyond. Yet what else could he want from me? I'll learn soon enough. Goddess grant me strength. Tonight I'll surely need it. And she blows a hole in his door.
Wow.
Some lightning.
Lightning.
Doesn't really look like lightning. Lightning explodes from her fingertips, shattering the door, a reminder that Storm is not exactly lacking in power either.
Wow.
Not exactly. In his homeland, Dracula was a prince. In hers, Aurora was a goddess. Dracula! I am here, vampire. Show yourself. Welcome, Aurora. Who? I am Dracula's consort. So this is Rachel Van Helsing's been turned.
Shoot.
Just like Dracula likes to do. He has a whole like banquet set out. I don't know if I'd eat that chicken though. It looks a little hairy or something. It's all brown.
Yeah.
There's
But
cheese under glass.
Dracula can make things illusionary. So if once he loses his control over you, like in movies and stuff, you look back at that stuff and it's all rotted and
Yeah, I can't remember what movie I saw, but that sounds familiar. Turns out the cheese is not under glass. That's the illusion. You thought it was under glass. It's been exposed to air this whole time.
it's just a cheese slice wrapped in plastic.
Just one slice of American cheese. So there's Dracula. He can read her thoughts, she finds out,
Oh, shoot.
because they share blood. You relinquished your power over me when we last met, she says. Circumstances were different then. Why am I here? Why did you break your word? Because I had no choice. Your tongue is insolent, woman. You need reminding who is master of your soul. And she's like fighting back because she's got a strong will.
Jeez.
And you, vampire, need a lesson in humility. Ha! Your fate was sealed the instant I tasted your blood. True, I left you to live out your days in peace, knowing that you would rise from the grave to join me as one of the undead. Liar! Look into your heart, Aurora. My neck. You cannot deny the truth. I guess he's able to reopen her vampire wound just by thinking about it.
Jeez.
So, the reason that he called her there, he's not going to make her a full vampire yet either. He has a task for her to do. So, meanwhile, she needs to rest up for this adventure he's going to send her on. Feed her, Rachel, I shall see to my own needs. No, none must die because of me, Dracula. You waste your breath. You cannot stop him. So, she eats some of the cheese slices or whatever. And she's like, why do you work for Dracula? But turns out she reveals her fangs. She's like, well, I'm a vampire now.
Dang it.
And the point is, in the town of Pendarrow, there's this fortress, and it holds an artifact that can destroy all vampires in existence. It's a book that has a mystic spell for the obliteration of vampires, and he wants to steal it before it can be used on him.
He means it.
I know, that's a good drawing of
Holy cow.
it. And if you remember, Storm was a thief when she was a child. She was like an expert pickpocket in
That's
Cairo.
right.
And she's like, why don't you just take it yourself? He says, because the fortress is built atop one of the holiest spots in Britain, a storehouse of eldritch energy that rivals Stonehenge. To come this close is uncomfortable. Any nearer and we would be in agony. Ingenious. Who chose this location? Rachel, of course. For that and other things, she has paid the price. So this is like...
That's why he got...
Yeah, Rachel Van Helsing knows all about it.
His collar is comical.
Yeah, it's a little too tall. He just pushes her.
Jeez.
It's like, geez, she was gonna do it already. Let her take her time. So, not only is it a bad place if you're undead, but there's a bunch of booby traps for mortal people too. And
Good.
many of them are triggered by weight sensors in the floor, so she's able to use her wind powers or wind manipulation to hover above them. However, she doesn't see this person in the background with a crossbow that shoots her in the back.
Shoot.
Who is it? But Kitty Pryde. I'm sorry, Storm. You serve him now. I can't afford to let you... She means that she was trying to kill me. Has the child gone mad?
How did she
Just
know?
then, Colossus... Right, how'd she know Storm was there? Well, she watched her. She woke up, remember? She watched her fly away. She's like, she must be going to
To
England.
that specific castle.
Yeah. Colossus bursts through the wall, but she makes the floor into ice and pushes him over with a gust of wind, and then freezes him completely.
Oh, this pose is hilarious.
Why even need Iceman when you got Storm?
Right.
That would be interesting. I never really thought of that. Can she manipulate ice to the same degree as Iceman?
Well, not only that, but she can manipulate the sun. So could she bring the sun's power stronger and destroy some of the things that Iceman
You would
makes?
think, yeah, make it too hot. And meanwhile, Kitty has broken into this safe
She found it.
and found the Montesi formula. Before this night is done, Dracula, beloved sire, you will be dust. And you're like, why does she call him beloved sire? It's a little clue about why she looks so evil. She's not looking normal
No,
there.
that's creepy.
This is a private quarrel, Aurora. Stay clear of it. You are not Kitty. You wear her shape, but you are not her. How do you know? After all, you ran right to Dracula's arms the moment he called, without hesitation or a real fight. You can't deny the attraction of evil. Perhaps I'm simply following your example. I'd love to stay and chat, Aurora. but I've a lot to do. Toodles. And these men start shooting bullets
Crazy.
at Storm, so she jumps out the window with that arrow still at her back.
Whoa.
I like these little confusion bubbles.
Yeah, she doesn't have healing powers at all. So,
Well, she's going to fall to her death, and she's too exhausted from being shot by an arrow and stuff to manipulate the wind, but Dracula
saves
picks her up, and says, I'm not going to let you die yet. Chapter 3 starts in Cairo. And Storm's like, why would I be here? Wait, my gown, my scarf, they're Dracula's. So she knows it's some kind of illusion or dream or something. She sees her mom.
I like her mom.
And she's like, hey, there's a war going on. You can't just be wandering around. So they still see her as a kid, even though she's fully grown to herself. And there's her dad. So her mom's name's Indare. And her dad...
David.
So, just when things are going well with their little reunion, an air raid siren sounds. The fire of anti-aircraft guns and missiles is heard. With her weather powers, Aurora could drive the attacking planes away. She wants to, tries to, fails. For though she sees herself as an adult, her role in these memories is that of a child, and so she watches in helpless rage and grief as a plane is hit. Oh, my lord! Indare, Aurora, get down! I'll keep you safe. And so they're crushed by this rubble, and Storm's the only one that survives.
It's a dream.
And she comes to, and Dracula's like, oh yeah, sorry I put you in this coffin arrest. I forgot that you are claustrophobic. And she says, well, I still don't have fangs, so I'm still immortal, still human.
You know, his fangs are large, but his teeth are pretty dang big, irregardless of having
Yeah, it makes
fangs.
even your molars bigger.
Ew.
His eyebrows are big, too.
Yeah.
So, her injuries have been tended to. She lost considerable blood, but fortunately I was able to put much of it to excellent use. Parasite! Will I never be free of you? No. He likes backhanding people. He does that again later on, I think.
That's very dramatic.
Yeah. So, she crashes into the coffin,
Jeez.
and she's talking to Rachel Van Helsing. There are worse fates than death than becoming a living denial of everything you held dear. You do not understand. He offers rapture and power beyond comprehension. Yes, I see how happy he has made you, Rachel. He offers nothing I desire. That will change.
Whoa.
He's about to bite her and turn her into a full vampire when, Zark! Somebody throws something at him. So,
Guess the superhero by the sound that he makes.
who dares? The X-Men, Bub. We look after our own. I like when Wolverine calls people Bub. Hey, Bub. Storm, are you okay? Save your concern for yourselves, dog. And Dracula throws the spear off the wall at Cyclops, but
Dang.
Wolverine deflects it. Unbreakable
Shit.
adamantium claws flash from bionic housings in Wolverine's forearm to bat the spear aside. Into Nightcrawler's hands, he teleports, materializing literally atop Dracula, catching the vampire lord by surprise and stabs him. That's cool.
That's very
Teleportation
cool.
would be a cool power.
Yes. I like
I don't
her.
understand why Cyclops has such big flaps on his boots. That was like a trendy thing for a while with superheroes to have the big flappy
Kind of
boots.
pirate-like.
Yeah. What?
Swashbuckling.
Why would you want all that extra material flapping around?
Exactly, yeah.
So Rachel Van Helsing springs into action to help Dracula. And she goes to attack Cyclops. And he does this weird thing, which is apparently a judo throw that would have knocked her out had she been human. She turns into a mist, and he can't really,
Oh, crap.
fight her that way. Even though she seems to be able to touch him, he can't really get a grip on her. Meanwhile, Kitty Pryde and Colossus burst through the wall again. She can phase, he's just going to burst through. He will not escape us, Katya, and no power on earth will keep us from him.
Wait a minute. The spear didn't do it? Oh, Storm.
Well,
pulled
you
it
gotta
out.
do a lot of stuff to kill Dracula. I don't think it was a stake through his heart, it just hurt him.
Hurt him.
So, There is bloodlust in her eyes, Dracula thinks of Kitty Pryde. She seems older, crueler, much akin to myself. Mere bravado, vampire. I possess the one weapon against which you have no defense, and I mean to use it. Meanwhile, Rachel Van Helsing is changed into a wolf instead of Mist, and Cyclops is like, if she had stayed Mist, I probably would have been beat, but now that she's corporeal, I'm just going to shoot her with my laser blast.
Yep.
And Dracula's like, I'm going to go to the catacombs where I can pick off everybody one by one instead of having to fight them in a big group.
He's like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Evil Kitty Pryde is like, a secret passage? Well, she's just going to phase through the wall. Wolverine tries to catch up with Colossus. Petey, hold up. What the blazes is going on? Why'd you and Kitty swipe the Blackbird? Begone, Wolverine. Katja has summoned me. I must go to her. And if you try to stop me, X-Man, you will regret it.
What the
He
heck?
backhands him.
What? That's the vampire move.
Cyclops is like, Colossus, wait, don't go in there. The passage might be booby-trapped. And he just falls. A dead fall. Stand clear, everyone, while I pulverize that slab. It must weigh tons. Could even Peter survive such an impact? I guess so, Nightcrawler, he's gone. So they catch up with Storm and kind of get what's going on from her.
Wow.
And it was because of the Blackbird's tracking beacon that they were able to follow Colossus and Kitty Pryde, and then, you know, they had been following Storm, and they know where she was going, not because they actually knew, but because they're being controlled. So they're like, maybe you should go back to safety, and Storm says, I am team leader, Cyclops. My place is here. Don't be ridiculous. You're in no shape for a fight. Suppose Dracula regains control of you. In a burst of light, Storm changes into her costume. I know the risk, but if I am to be true to myself, as Aurora and Storm, I must stay. Win or lose, I must at least try. All right.
He gives in real
All right.
easily. Okay.
It also doesn't make sense to have those big horns on your boots. They would be more out of the way, you would think, or like weigh
the
you
big
down
horns
less.
on his shoulders too.
That's true. It's just for flair. So it starts to thunderstorm to mimic Storm's mood. And I like this blast. Cyclops shoots right through the floor. He's like, maybe we could skip all the booby traps and just melt the floor. Look at this long panel.
What?
Voila. He just melts the floor.
Whoa.
They all jump down. My winds will slow our descent. Nifty. That's what Wolverine says. Nifty.
Bub.
Wolverine, when we reach bottom, you take the point. So he's smelling them.
And look at those his big face flaps.
Yeah, that's not practical. It's not aerodynamic. So they confront Dracula, who throws Colossus, who had already been fighting him.
Jeez.
He throws him at the other X-Men. They dodge, and Wolverine's like, Bub, I've been aching for a rematch since our fracas in Central Park back in X-Men 159. I believe that was the first time Storm encountered Dracula. Maybe you can't bleed when I cut you, but let's see how dangerous you are after I slice and dice your spine. Your claws, Wolverine, are formidable weapons. I think it far more fitting, however, they'd be put to use in my service. Kill! So he bites Wolverine a little bit and sends him attacking the other X-Men.
That happens too quickly.
You would think if he had a healing factor, maybe that would overcome the vampirism. Maybe it's just temporary. So Rachel's fighting Storm. Storm grabs the spear and throws it at her. That's a cool reaction panel.
Yeah, it is.
Just missed her. And because Dracula's in the middle of a fight, his control on Rachel starts to wane a little bit. And she realizes what's going on, like her true personality emerges. No, must I spend eternity enslaved to the monster I've sworn all my life to destroy? The battle has split his concentration, weakened his hold on me. My mind and spirit are at last my own. While there's time, Aurora, strike. I thought I could, Rachel. I was mistaken. She wants her to kill her, but Storm's like, I don't think I can do that.
She's being Storm.
So, if you were ever curious, Wolverine can hurt Colossus in his metal form. Sparks fly as Wolverine's claws rake Colossus's chest, scoring the organic steel armor.
Jeez.
Super strong, but no match for pure adamantium. My mark is on his neck, fool. Wolverine will not stop until I command it. and that will be until you or he are dead. A brilliant ploy, Kitty thinks, sire. She keeps calling him sire. I used the same on Colossus last night to make him mine, so Colossus has been bid as well. In your case, unfortunately, it will prove too little too late. And she starts to recite out of that formula, the Montesi formula. And it's causing him to dissipate.
Whoa.
When all of a sudden Nightcrawler materializes and knocks the book out of her hand. Another backhanded
If anybody
attack.
backhands you, pull out a crucifix.
Yeah. I wasn't finished. I like the pink around the dark inked word bubble like that. Misshapen freak, you've broken the spell. Have you any idea what you've done? Those words from the Darkhold, ancient grimoire, utterly irredeemably evil. Had you completed enchantment, your soul would have been forfeit. Kitten, let him go.
He's got knowledge from his growing up.
Well, he lived in a monastery, and that was one of the classes you took, was Irredeemable Evil 101. And Storm intervenes. Whoever, whatever you are, she says, release your hold on this child as well. The girl? Possessed? Dracula says. Of course, that explains everything. A masterful stratagem. I never suspected. Show yourself, daughter. Your masquerade is over. You've lost the ability to do me harm. I do not understand. What is this place? How came I here? Colossus says. He's getting a little weird with his syntax. Not so, father. X-Men, kill him! Huh? What happened? Wolverine's snapping out of it. Use your powers. Strike. Kill him. The X-Men do not kill, Storm says. Slay Dracula. Kitty, she's changing. I command it, or I'll never release the girl. She'll remain the host form of a vampire forever.
Oh, no.
Do you know who that is?
It's the daughter of Dracula, but what's her name?
Just like the son of Satan.
Yeah.
He's like, I can never get out of my dad's shadow. They just know me as the son of Satan. My name's Harold. Mind your manners, daughter. You have lost, as you will always lose. As for you, X-Men, twice have our paths crossed. There will be no third encounter. Left alive, you would no doubt hunt me down, perhaps to my death. Therefore, you will perish, to be reborn, flesh of my flesh, blood of my... Oh, never! Rachel Van Helsing threw the other spear at him.
Yes.
So it doesn't kill him. I like this. Obey me. His eyes are like rolling up like that. That's cool. No, she says. You've haunted every moment of my life, murdered everyone I love. This reckoning is long overdue. So she's burning herself while holding the crucifix because she's still technically a vampire, I guess. It is nearly done. He can still be resurrected. For Dracula to undergo the true death, his head must be severed from his body. I'll handle that. Someone see to Rachel's hands. She's burned to the bone. I like this reaction shot. Suddenly, bonk. What? Wolverine gets bonked on the head by a rock, and his ears go back like a cat or something when it gets surprised and gets annoyed. Look, they're still pulled back.
That's hilarious.
Makes him look like a cat. Cripes! Cave in. It is the gale, the waves hammering at the shore. The entire cliff is collapsing. So before they can decapitate the skeleton of Dracula to fully kill him, just in case they want to bring him back at some point, they all have to run out. Later, the whole castle or mansion or whatever falls into the sea.
Wow.
And here is Rachel Van Helsing. Rachel, it's nearly dawn. I know, Storm. I have a favor to ask, my friends. Death by sunlight is slow and agonizing. A stake to the heart is quick. I will, Storm says. No, killing's my profession.
Oh, that Wolverine.
He likes killing. It's his profession. He's the best at what he does. And what he does, not very nice. Is that what this famous quote he says? You sure about this, Rachel? Yes. Storm fought. She reminded me of what I had been. If I'm to remain true to my heritage, myself, this is the only way. Come close then. Let me hold you. Oh, Chuck. I like the steaming skeleton. Look, the sun. It's so bright, so beautiful. I like this really thin. It looks like that Roy Lichtenstein sun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the steam. Take a walk, will you, Roro, guys? I'll finish things, but I prefer to do it alone. I mourn her too, my friend. I should like to stay and help. I guess they're going to bury her skeleton. How delightfully sentimental. If you miss her so much, X-Men, why not remove the stake? Perhaps she'll show her appreciation and make you all immortal with a kiss. So if you take the stake back out, they come back? Is that what she's implying?
Unless you sever their head.
I thought that was just Dracula, because he was like the OG one. So you had to not only stake him, but decapitate him.
Yeah.
Kitty? Only in form, Colossus, not substance. Who are you? Dracula's deadliest, most implacable foe, his darling daughter. I am Lilith.
Yeah.
You're a vampire, but the sun doesn't affect you, nor do crosses or garlic or any of the traditional defenses. I am unique. I was created as a vampire to be my father's eternal nemesis. I could do anything but destroy him, yet to destroy him was my sole desire. I learned of Montesi's formula, only to discover, most painfully, that Pendarrow Hill was anathema to me too. I leaked word of my quest for the formula, knowing Dracula would summon Storm to steal it. I possessed Kitty both to gain the ability to enter Pendarrow Castle and to draw X-Men into the fray. As Kitty, I approached Peter and took his blood, making him my devoted slave. I thought of fanging you all, but your wills are too strong. I could never maintain control over the entire group for long. The rest, as the saying goes, is history. Your child is returned, X-Men, unharmed in mind or body, or, thanks to Nightcrawler's timely intervention, soul. My work is done. We shall not meet again. Oh, Storm, with Dracula's death, his hold on you and Wolverine is truly ended. You will not rise after death as a vampire. Pity. Colossus is in no danger either. He didn't lose enough blood. Farewell, X-Men. It's been fun. I like this creepy, angular version of her face disappearing. I like how she's like, oh yeah, by the way. It's like she's evil, but she's like, just for your peace of mind, you won't become a vampire when you die. If you were truly enemies, I'd be like, let him worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Wolverine's hair.
That's why he's got the horns on his mask. He's like, make my mask look like my hair. I need somewhere to put my hair spikes. Where am I? Kitty says. Guys, what's going on? I was in my room. Oh, Aurora, the awful things I said to you all. I'm so sorry. It's all right, kitten. I like that Storm calls her kitten instead of kitty. That's funny. Everything's all right now. Later. How's the kid? Confused, tired. She remembers nothing since her tantrum the other day. Good. That's it then. It's over. Is it?
Leaves you wondering.
It's funny, Wolverine and Storm, I feel like when they have little solo or like duo panels, it's like the adults are in the room. Like Cyclops is more of an adult too, but he's kind of like, he's a little neurotic or something. Like I feel like Colossus is kind of a simpleton a little bit, or like just too young. He's a little naive or something.
Well, his whole identity is so wrapped up in Jean.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is he's like psychologically vulnerable.
Yeah.
More so than, I guess Storm's claustrophobia makes her vulnerable, but that's what I like about Storm as a character, because the other possible spooky cover I thought about picking is from this same era, but it's Storm transforming into a brood. The insect-like monster, they're basically like the alien from the Alien movies.
Right, I remember.
But I'm like, that's kind of like space horror. I'm gonna go classic Victorian horror for this one. It was really hard to pick. For all the holidays that you could try to honor with a comic book, Halloween's probably the easiest.
Yeah.
I don't know about like Flag Day. Valentine's Day, maybe.
I went with the creepy crawlies.
The Saga of the Swamp Thing.
And
this guy is so gross. What are these? What's coming out of there?
Yeah.
Not only does he have like a hairy back, then he's got like male pattern baldness. He's got the Homer Simpson, but he grew it out.
It's
like if Homer took his 5 strands of hair and grew a mullet or something.
Ew. That would be
and his veiny
great.
arms.
Yes. He's an ass.
This guy's kind of sympathetic looking. He looks like a triceratops mixed with an insect.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not so bad. So anyway, the Saga of the Swamp Thing. This is from
1983.
83.
So just the next year up.
And we open it up, and this is like a continuation of a story. And We have floating brains,
Oh my God.
disembodied eyes. They can't exist, and yet they do. And as it turns out, he is drunk, and he's an addict. And I like how they put the writer here.
Yeah, Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson on the on the bottle of
On the
booze.
And
That's
so
funny.
he's in this like dreamlike state of drama, and then he wakes up and he calls out Abby, and he looks, and there's a fire, and a lamp had turned over and caused a fire, and Swamp Thing is knocked out, and Abby is knocked out. He yells, he comes to kind of enough, and yells out Abby, and he tries to get to her, and he
The
realizes
colors are so good in this. Sorry to interrupt. but
no, they're
colors
beautiful.
in the inking. It's so dark compared to, just as a quick A/B comparison.
Yeah,
Like it goes way. The darks are a lot deeper. Or
The darks
something.
are deeper
Maybe it's
and
just how it's aged.
the saturation.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. There's just a difference in the
Yeah, I mean,
color resolution.
they paid attention to detail because look at how they put Swamp Thing in the flames.
Yeah, and even these greens and almost like they're like a really deep green that I'm not used to seeing in this era of comics. I don't know if
Yeah.
this issue's just more well preserved than that one, or if it was
All
the
the
original printing different that
Variances
much.
of green too.
Oh yeah,
But so anyway, he can't get to her to save her. He tries, and then realizing it, he concentrates, and he's trying to wake up Swamp Thing. And while he's doing that, he's creating this kind of creature out of his
like
brain.
Groot.
Yeah, and this thing reaches and touches Swamp Thing, and who responds
With a
instantly
punch.
with the backhand.
sassy backhand. It's like if Groot and Warlock became the same
Yeah.
character or something.
So it does wake up Swamp Thing, and instantly, he's like, I gotta save her, and he grabs this blanket, thinking that he could put out the flames, but the blanket is already in flames, so he has to use himself, and he thinks to himself, hopefully, there's enough moisture in my
Yeah, the
in
damp
my
moss.
that I
I was
can
gonna
do
say
this.
he would be you would think he's the most vulnerable to fire.
Except he's so, he's got
He's
dank.
soggy.
Yeah, he must smell.
Probably.
Anyway, he does save her, and he's like, "Whew, I made it, but I'll have some healing to do." So this guy's like, "Alec, those creatures, I think I'm responsible for them. That's why the first one attacked Dr. Barclay." And this all goes back to the previous episode. So when I was reading this, I thought, well, there's a lot that I don't know about this episode, but I'm going to plug along and see if I can, make any sense of it.
I like that reaction shot. That's very modern looking to me. That looks like something from like you'd see in Spawn or something.
So he realizes that he creates them. And Swamp Thing is like, but how? He's like, I don't know, I'm not sure. But Abby is okay. And they're like, but you must be in shock. And then we cut to,
She's got Storm's hair
she
stylist.
does have,
And he's looking a little bit like the Grinch
very much
in
does.
some of his profile shots.
And then we cut to, but Dennis, why would you, I can't read from here, why would you?
Oh, why would your superiors at the clinic you ran order you to administer electroshock to Cable? I explained that, Liz. When he met Alec, Matt was working for DDI, that government intelligence agency run by that Dwight Wicker guy. I still don't know why, but Wicker wanted everyone who ever knew or heard of Alec Holland neutralized. They hired Sunderland Corps to do that for them. And that's where my private clinic for Sunderland employees fit in. If killing the party in question was too risky, I guess DDI would settle for the next best thing, inducing amnesia through Liz, there's something wrong with this thing. She's out of control. So
Yeah, and then we cut
He
back.
loses control of the truck, I guess.
And what this
It's like a gust
was
of wind.
is basically an explanation for his powers. He worked for them, and they sent him to the clinic, and he was put through shock treatment to try to give him amnesia. And
Alec is Swamp Thing, right? That's
Alec
like his
is
regular
Swamp
person
Alec,
name?
yes.
Okay. I'm pretty familiar with Swamp Thing, but it's been a while. I was
What-
going to ask you, did we watch the live
Yeah.
action Swamp Thing movie when I was a kid?
Yes.
Wasn't there one in the 80s or
Yes.
something?
And what happened was he and his wife had been working together, and they came up with a formula that would essentially end hunger in the world. But the corporation
Hostess company.
Yep. I think it was the Sunderland.
It's probably, what's that big company that owns like all Pepsi and a bunch of restaurants? Those
Yeah.
bastards.
And they sent some henchmen to set a bomb and killed his wife, but the formula in the explosion spilled all over him.
His wife died, though.
And his wife died, and he was turned into Swamp Thing. So Cable here was sent to that clinic to have his memories erased. And that little story was like the beginning of the explanation.
Okay.
And then he's talking here about how they said that they were going on a special trip and sent a special courier, and they put him in there. And then we cut from his explanation. Swamp Thing, I don't know, the saturation level is a little...
His posture, too. He's such a depressed hero.
Yes,
He's bummed
yes.
out all the time. Wouldn't you be, though?
And he's,
I like this transition, this silhouette of the body with the
Yes.
crackling
That's a
electroshock.
beautiful transition. And then we cut to another thing that's going on in this comic, an Arcane, who is Swamp Thing's arch nemesis.
Does he run the corporation that sabotaged his
No, Arcane.
breakthrough?
And I have to admit, I got through this comic, and then I had to go to DC Wiki because Arcane is intense. And he actually is a person from before World War One.
What?
Yeah, he's that old. And he, through a mixture of science and magic, he was pure evil. He worked in World War One on horrible, inhumane experiments with dead bodies, necromancy. He tortured his siblings growing up. He was just pure evil. He tortured his mother. And then,
Sounds like a real jerk.
oh, he's awful. And then he worked with Hitler in World War II.
That guy,
That guy, again.
of course.
And,
You would love Hitler.
yeah. And then he, in some time traveling incident, where Swamp Thing was forced into the past, that's where Arcane first became aware of him.
Oh, okay.
And the rejuvenating process that Swamp Thing possesses, Arcane wants it to
Be immortal or
be
something.
immortal because by this time,
So Swamp Thing, like ageless?
I think he's got some immortal properties, yeah, and super healing properties. But Arcane, by this time, he had to. Well, I'll let the comic explain it to himself.
I love these detail lines and the close up.
Yeah,
It's cool. Gives it a gritty kind of feel.
yes, it
matches
does.
the subject matter really well.
So
This is
he has,
Cryptman
yes, who is someone that knows Swamp Thing and knows his
being
location.
tortured or something.
He's being tortured for information. And he goes,
Oh,
in
he's talking
time,
about the
Dr.
unmen."
Cryptman. His whole team is the unmen. And he takes these dying people and people that he's tortured, like Dr. Cryptman here, and he's turning him into,
Oh,
look at
God.
these guys.
Is this Arcane?
That's Arcane right
Oh,
now.
jeez. I thought he was like a regular guy.
No, oh, he's hideous. It looks like he's got nipples. Like, does he have children? I guess
This
he's...
poor lady's just on like a little cricket's body or something.
Yeah.
She doesn't look that evil. She just looks bummed.
So he has these two
Ew.
encasing Kripma into silk that's going to turn him.
Yeah.
So he's going to have his revenge against Alec Holland for dooming me to my current misshapen form. So they have fought before. Look at
Is
this.
that your grandma's wig?
Hers was curly. This guy can fly, apparently, or
This
float.
guy's like a punk rock mosquito or something. Dragonfly.
Nasty, nasty. Look at that spine.
Yeah.
Just creepy. I thought this was perfect for Halloween. So he goes to explain that, if you want to read that there.
You see, Cryptman, I have been shadowing Holland for some time now. Thus I am acquainted with you. Indeed, all of Holland's current entourage. When you ventured into the wood to find Holland, my unmen quickly set the trap that snared you. So you could be brought here to become the pawn in my game of revenge. How can you still be alive after what happened to you? You were killed in that cemetery. Ah, yes, Arcane says, the cemetery. To this day, I am not certain what really attacked me there. That was, last issue, Arcane told Cryptman about his last encounter with the Swamp Thing. Gotcha. But on that southern land, we were fought many battles of slave against master. Perhaps it became tainted with psychic resonances, the emotional residue of the slave's resentment. These powerful psychic vibrations took hold of my unmen, made them realize their lowly station, and so they rebelled. They tore me limb from limb. They buried each part of my dismembered body in a separate grave, then vanished, never to be seen again.
Look at this guy's expression.
He's having a good time. But there were other unmen who exhumed me. So
Look at his...
that's a cool idea. The unmen rebelled against him.
Yeah. This pose is horrendous.
Yikes.
Ugh.
How does he go to the bathroom?
Does he have to? And the monocle, that makes him even more evil. So he continues talking.
He rebuilt his artificial body, this time even less well than they had before. Using the science I had taught them, rebuilt my artificial body, this time even less well than they had before. In time, I forged this exoskeleton to enable me to function. He's kind of speaking ill of his henchmen. Teach him better if you don't like the way they're doing it.
Exactly. But where they are is he can create, like in physics, a space that is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Oh, yeah,
It's
like in
like his-
physics.
Yeah.
I'm familiar. You mean like a Doctor Who?
Well, yeah, but he goes on to say which some people believe in physics that can't be proven or can't be recreated.
Oh, gotcha.
So he's
kind
got
of
a ship,
tesseract?
a tesseract, yes, and so he gets the information he wants of the location, and as it turns out, Abby is his niece, but he does not care.
What a
It's
terrible
family, but he
uncle.
does. I know, and so.
I like that funky version of his face.
And so he
spying
gets
on them.
spying on them, and he comes in to where, let's let Abby rest a bit, Alec. Besides, I need some fresh air. So they go out, and he continues with his explanation. A DDI agent visited me at the clinic soon after I arrived there, and they realized that he may not have had all his memories erased by that electroshock therapy. And so they keep surveillance on him and let him out into the world under surveillance. But he had to take a lot of menial jobs after that. And the
They
boredom.
like watch him wash dishes and stuff.
Yeah.
And record it on a video.
And the menial jobs, the boredom with all the memories and this psychic ability or this ability that he had turned him to booze. This is
That's
really
cool. It
nice
blends in with the
drawing.
hill, his head. That's really cool.
Really beautiful art in this.
I like that it shows you don't have to always do a new panel.
Yeah.
And also, this is kind of creative panel layering there.
Yeah, we cut back to the truck where he wants to go and help his patient, and she's kind of trying to keep him with her where she is. He's going to set out on foot. She's like, but I'm cold. You got to stay here with me. And cutting back to Cable. And then as we see, greetings, Abigail, Matthew, and you, Dr. Holland. And Alec, it looks like Sasquatch there. Abby, get back. She goes, that voice sounds like my uncle, but that's impossible. This is a really interesting, the view from his ship.
Yeah, he's got a dragonfly ship.
And as this dragonfly approaches, look at his reflection in the eyes.
His face is all magnified.
And
He blasts him with something.
yeah, yes, he blasts him across, knocks him out. It says, and creases Matt Cable's skull.
Creases it. It's not good for your skull.
No, that's a nasty one. Then we have,
Who's that? Who's
I
that
don't
from?
know, I never watched.
Must be from Mr. T. Probably the shirt tails.
Oh, I bet, yeah. Fred's gonna beat the crap out of Barney. He deserves it, though. He's Barney.
Our vice principal in high school looked like Barney Rubble.
That's funny. And so they send down the encased body of Kripman there, and Alec is worried and tries to get him out of it, and which gives the bad guys just enough time to actually bring everybody into their ship. This is the battle that's kind of going on.
I love the
I
colors.
love the wings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad that guy's a bad guy. His feelers,
That's a really cool
that's a
close-up
real.
drawing.
And it turns Swamp Thing very scary and beastie.
Yeah, he looks like his enemy.
Yeah, yeah. And then he gets stung, which paralyzes him. I love the detail
Is
in
he
the
sprouting
eyes.
these?
No, that's
Somebody behind him.
Yeah, that's somebody behind him.
That guy's bored. That guy's like, hey, Mom.
And then we cut back to the guys who are stuck in the swamp, and I've got to go, and she goes, it's your ego. You doctors have a God complex. Here, let's make out. That'll make you feel better. That's all that is, that storyline. And then we cut back to everybody is in the ship,
Oh God.
and his little hands
It's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Is that right?
like a tesseract. Yeah.
He couldn't even put some damn furniture in it. He's like, it's a desert. Well, could you make it comfortable on the inside? I know it's bigger, but
He's got Alec strung up on a kind of a web, and he's got Abby, and he's this guy, he's chaining her up so she can be encased, and Kripman here, and
poor Kripman.
yeah, it was a difficult task finding her, more so than locating you or your entourage. Miss Tremaine, Dr. Barclay, and Kripman here. I knew you would lead me to my niece. Perhaps you would seek her out. He's going to see his family has kind of a leaning or inkling towards magic or abilities, and her father didn't want anything to do with it. So she didn't learn. But he wants to,
Well, if your name's Arcane, you kind of got to get into stuff like that.
he wants to basically bind her up and then use her body and her abilities.
Yikes.
Because he doesn't care about family.
He's going to use her like a battery or something.
Perhaps you would meet her by happenstance, or I knew it would happen, and that when you did, I would mete out to you both a justice long deferred. So he's got issues.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I love these drawings of their faces.
This is a beautiful
Ooh, look
drawing.
at those gums and teeth.
This is a
Got
great
long
drawing of
gums.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
And so, so these guys here are spitting out their webbing to encase her, and thus the cryptman you know shall be dead, as shall my niece, though in a purely metaphorical sense. In their stead shall be two more mindless unmen, as lustfully, ravenously instinctual as an insect. How delicious that she who would betray me shall instead become my slave. And he's like, no, not Abby, not if I can help it. And he realizes that so intent is Holland on Abby, he doesn't realize that Cryptman is using his teeth and gnawing at the string or the webbing.
This chrysalis thing?
Yes, but enough, soon enough, and he doesn't notice either. Bad guys never notice when they're yapping. But enough, soon enough, you shall observe the fruit of my labors with your own eyes, Holland, or should I say, with mine. So now is the moment, Holland, that I have lived for through years beyond reckoning, what I have twice died for.
It's gross when they don't show his bottom teeth.
Look at his chin hairs. Ugh. So he sets out this energy field to what he wants to do is mind meld. He's going to go into, his mind is going to go into Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing, just like Doom and Off the Flash. And they're going to switch bodies. But Cryptman's been chewing on his chrysalis and he thrusts himself into the power,
Oh no.
disrupting it. And look at this. It looks like he's vomiting himself and disrupting it. And in doing so, Swamp Thing realizes that the power holding in the webbing is lessening. So he breaks out of that and he rescues Abby.
I like the pinkish purple blast.
Yeah,
This is pink.
yeah.
That's pretty messed up looking.
The drawings here, that's
The
disgusting.
pink on black is a cool look.
The skin,
Yeah, it's like it's melting off.
ugh, ugh. And so they realize that the hole to their reality is closing, so they have to rush out. And they make it out as the unmen try to stop them. And yeah,
He's
well,
just like a praying mantis with person legs.
very muscly up there though.
Yeah.
Well, too bad this time there are no elaborate distractions to protect them from me. And I've neither the time nor the inclination to be gentle. Yes, probably caused by Arcane's collision with,
Oh, she's saying it feels like the ship's stabilizing mechanism is failing.
yes. Ooh, this
He's
punk.
got a mohawk.
Yeah, I like him. And oh, so what happens? So they're free, and all of a sudden, they realize that the unmen are turning away from them. He throws this guy, but the other ones are turning away, as if they're being called back, as if in answer to an unheard summons, a soundless dinner gong. In that chamber, like many species of insects, the unmen are disposing of their leader now that they have no further use for him. So all these unmen
They love rebelling against him.
are turning on him. They're eating him
Ugh.
as his ship, as the hole is closing up. And this guy's full. But ooh, look at this guy's gums.
Ugh.
And this guy
He'd
wants
draw-
more.
Draw
Ugh.
some really great grotesque.
Yeah, the drawing in this
I feel
is
like the
great.
movie would have to be like those things they made for the movie The Thing. Those kind of
Yes.
creatures. Those like Lovecraftian organ beast thing.
Yeah, so if you want to read out the ending here.
And so they remain oblivious as their erstwhile captives escape, plunging into a swamp just before impact. And as the dawn sky lightens further with the massive explosion of Arcane's ship, so much for Arcane, but have I really seen the last of him? Come on, Alec, let's go. I must know if Matt's all right. Yes, of course you must. And after we check on him, I'd better find Dennis and Liz. Poor Matt, he's been through so much. I hate to ask him to come with me to Washington to confront Sunderland and DDI, but I've got to. Now that Cryptman is dead, there's no one else on my side. Another great chance to just, you don't have to interrupt every clause with 3 dots. You could just use regular punctuation.
True.
And it would have us, I don't think you'd be losing much. Who knows them the way Matt does? It'll be very risky though, especially with that uncontrollable power of his, or whatever it is.
Right.
I do not want Swamp Thing to text me. I gotta say that. If it's gonna be like that, if he's just gonna say before I do anything else, I've got to know if we're really safe from this Arcane this time.
Oh, Swamp Thing's a boomer.
I've got to be sure. He's finally dead. I've got to see the body. That's cool. His silhouette.
That's very cool.
You know, you're gonna see him again. He's too good of a villain to see the last of him here.
But even though
Ooh.
when I first started reading this, I was like, oh no, there's too much baggage. But I persisted. It's beautifully drawn.
Definitely. Do you think, which
Oh,
model do you
whoa.
think is cooler? Which one would you rather build? I
This
that
one, yeah.
It's cool. You ever play this game?
No,
Me neither.
no. But it looks scary.
It's too realistic. Well, we unknowingly picked very similar color schemes too. For
Yeah, we did.
Halloween
Red, purple, and
theme.
white. Lots of green.
So if you like this episode, I appreciate you watching, and give us a like and a comment and subscribe, and
Don't forget our big giveaway. We're 7 subscribers away. You just might be the winner.
yep. So yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.